If it works online, let's deliver it in store, but a really different way to make sure that there's two conversations going on and two kind of triggers to purchase in different spaces. It's a bit of a treasure trove in terms of understanding more about our customers. I have never felt so empowered to make decisions, and I've never felt so empowered to fail spectacularly, but just keep going.
Welcome to Add to Cart, Australia's leading e-commerce podcast that express delivers all you need to know in the fast-moving world of online retail. Here's your host, Bushy.
Welcome to another episode of Add to Cart. I'm Bushy and I'm joining you from the land of the Turrbal people, otherwise known as Brisbane, Australia. On Add to Cart, we welcome everyone to share and listen to e-commerce stories. The more diverse, the better. I want to especially welcome the traditional owners and the original storytellers of the land that we are on, our Indigenous and Torres Strait Islander listeners, to join us in our e-commerce conversations and our community. I think we all know that the skincare category is very crowded, but today's guest has made a big splash in this space by utilizing the science and proof behind an emerging ingredient, hemp. As we know now, hemp is used to make a whole range of products, including rope, clothing, paper, biofuel, and now skincare. But the origin story behind this brand is fascinating because it wasn't developed in a science lab or found on an overseas trend mission. It was a recommendation from their founder's beauty therapist, mum. Hey Bud creates skincare products that deliver premium products combining nature and science. Started by three friends in 2019, the brand now has a global customer base in over 90 countries. Today, their head of marketing, Hannah Neumann, joins us to share the Hey Bud skincare and give us a bit of insight into how the brand has been so successful in such a short amount of time. Hannah's background has been as part of marketing teams such as Styletread and L'Oreal before joining Hey Bud in 2022. In this chat, Hannah shares how Hey Bud focuses on creating comprehensive product pages that prioritize customer questions and really go deep with information that go beyond most product pages. She also talks about how they've blended science and fun to craft their distinct tone of voice, and tells us about their impressive track record in pursuing experimental activations. Swiftie fans might be very familiar with this one in particular. Now, if you want to experience firsthand what hemp can do for you and for your skin, listeners can get 20% off Hey Bud products as a gift from Hannah. Stay tuned for the code at the end of the chat. So, thanks to our partners, Shopify Plus and Deliver in Person, here's our conversation with Hannah Neumann, Head of Marketing at Hey Bud. Hannah, welcome to Add to Cart.
Thank you. Very happy to be here today.
So good to have you here. I think our listeners will get sick of hearing it, but I've just come back from holidays and we were talking about that. And then you were like, oh yeah, I've just been in Europe for a month. I was like, oh, your holiday trumps mine.
It's definitely that time of year, though. I think I'm staring out at a cold, rainy Melbourne day today. So I think you can't really blame people for trying to escape a little bit this time of year.
Well done for coming back from Europe.
I am still a little bit jet lagged, so hopefully this flows nice and well. And if I get a little bit stumped, give me a second and I think I'll catch up in a sec.
No, like that's the good stuff. It's like that Hot Wings, you know, that YouTube show or the Hot Wings where they interview celebrities and as like the wings get hotter, they give the more delirious answers and the more honest answers. I should just get people as they come off planes. So I get like the tired answers that are like the honest ones. All right, let's take it from the top. So, Hey Bud, an amazing story so far. For those who haven't heard about Hey Bud, started by three 20-something-year-old guys, skincare brand. So, shout out to Alex, Fidel, and Ollie. What makes Hey Bud unique in what I can imagine is a very crowded market?
Yeah, and I think as any beauty guest that you may have had on here would tell you, and I'm sure anyone thinks their industry is as well too, but that beauty space, I think in the last 5 and really 10 years as well too, that COVID impact on it, absolutely massive. And when we think about the market as well too, the independent beauty brands that are kind of launching every week, there's a lot of them out there, unfortunately as well, a lot that have a quick rise and a quick fall, but definitely it is really tough to stand out in that space at the moment. When I think about Hey Bud in that term, what makes us unique? What a multifaceted question. But when I break it down, I think it actually kind of comes back to who we are and where we started as a brand. And as you said, kind of shout out to the three guys as well too. Take it back to kind of the founding story of Hey Bud. And we start off with Alex and Fido in their teenage years. So both of them suffered through teenage acne. Now, anyone who's been impacted by teenage acne, what you find is there is such a strong kind of emotional element to it. It affects confidence, not only for the teenagers themselves, but of course the people purchasing the products from them as well. So their parents around them, or of course guardians as well too. And Alex, unfortunately, definitely got hit with that in his teenage years, quite a lot of teenage acne. And interestingly, Fidel's mum is a beauty therapist of 20 plus years. And so was kind of seeking better solutions out there for acne. You know, you walk into the shelves at that point in time and it's all chemical based. It's all classic kind of legacy style brands that haven't really been innovated for at that point, even 10, 15 years, and kind of still the same out there. And she actually imported some hemp seed oil in from the US. It wasn't really readily available in Australia just yet.
What year are we talking here?
This is kind of teenage years. So this is kind of the beginning provisions of Hey Bud. The brand is now 4 years old itself. But this was probably quite a few years before that, kind of kicking it off. But actually then what she did is combine that with some really fantastic acne-based products. So think like Cowl and Clay. So, you know, Clay acne masks. They're in market at the moment. But again, we're going a bit skincare 101 to kick off here. But yeah, really drying out the skin and that kind of thing. What you need is a bit of moisture at the end. And that's exactly what hemp seed oil did. So Hey Bud is actually founded from a really authentic kind of emotional connection as part of that. And I think what's really exciting is about the next stages of that is then actually putting that to production. They produced 500 hemp clay masks for the first run, sold out almost instantly. And then here we are 4 years later. And what you have now is we have over 16 plus products. We have a very strong NPD program as well too that's going to extend that quite soon as well, making sure that we're catering for that acne market. Now, all of that authenticity actually builds to who we are as a brand. We're here for our customer. We're here for our community as well too. And I think when you look at the skincare shelves, whether it's in market or you jump online and kind of just search skincare on Google, which is a minefield, what you find is a lot of big brands, not a lot of realness to it, and definitely a lot of layers where there's no kind of story or connection behind the brand from the people who are behind it. And I think that definitely shows through as well at the end.
Yes. Okay. Lot to unpack there. The irony is I was an acne teen as well. And my wife and I were actually having this conversation the other week. I was like, I'm so glad that when our kids, because they're 8 and 9 at the moment, I'm like, so glad that by the time they're teenagers, if they inherit my bad skin, they are going to have so many more options available than what was out there 30 years ago, right? Like, it's amazing that there's so many more options available. And the irony wasn't lost on me that before our chat, I had like a little pimple pop up on my cheek. And I'm like, oh my God, of all the episodes, it had to be this one.
Well, don't worry. I've got something for that if you need it. No, completely agree with you there as well. And I think that's where it came from, is the proactive, the bleach towels, all of that kind of stuff. You know, it comes from a mother's love at the end of the day around there had to be a better solution out there. And the great news is that there is. And that's what we're kind of building to as well, too, is making sure we have that accessibility for our community. And again, that real and really authentic way as well.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So looking at it from the outside, I look at the product and I go, oh, hemp is the differentiator. And I've got a feeling we're going to go a lot deeper than that today. But tell me about hemp. Is it still a differentiator in beauty, or is it kind of a common product and ingredient now, and you need to that can't be a key message?
Yeah, and absolutely. Let's talk hemp, and I will try and keep it surface level. I think what's really funny when you get to know me is where I'm at, I'm 100% in. And so my learning on hemp in terms of skincare and kind of the science behind it in the last 2 odd years, again, it's such a great ingredient. So when we actually break it down, we look at hemp in market in the skincare space, I think it's really important to recognize we're never the first. Anyone who comes in and says, I'm the first person to ever do this ever, a little bit delusional and probably needs a bit of a reality check. There's brands who've done it out there before us, but I think when I look back to us and where hemp actually fits in as our differentiator, it's the way we're actually delivering it to market. So when you look at our products, we're a hemp-powered skincare brand, but when you look at us on the shelf, we've got really subtle mentions to it. It's not that cultural stigma that kind of fits behind the word hemp and obviously the plant that is associated with that. where we have hemp as our key differentiator, our key USP at the end of the day, that it's created and formulated with incredible actives in the skincare space to actually make sure people are getting what they need. And that really, again, I'm sure we'll dive into kind of product loyalty in a minute, but actually that is a really key space for us in the marketing piece for Hey Bud is our products work. And people are so happy to shout about it from the rooftops about it. And it's actually kind of pulling it all back in together there. And hemp is the really tempo of everything that we do.
As Add to Cart listeners are high-performance athletes, you would be very aware that gains only come when you eat well, exercise regularly, and get good rest. You can't just do one. I mean, it's obvious for us. So when it comes to your tech stack, why should it be any different? This is what the LSKD team thought as they continued their omni-channel growth and international expansion. Offering online in the US? Shopify Plus. Open retail stores rapidly? Use Shopify Plus. Make a scene with pop-up experiences? Shopify Plus. There are no weak links here, and the gains speak for themselves. Since migrating to Shopify, the LSKD team have seen a 37% increase in online sales, with over 200% year-on-year growth for US store revenue and a 400% increase in POS revenue. With Shopify Plus, there's no skipping leg day because they've done it for you. Check out shopify.com/au/plus and get in touch with the Aussie Shopify Plus team to see how Shopify Plus can help you unify your tech stack for growth. From a marketing perspective, if hemp is your main ingredients and one of your USPs, I can tell that there is so much more about hemp that you want to talk about and that you want to tell us all the scientific benefits behind it. From a customer perspective who may not even differentiate hemp from the associated plant and, it's a murky area if you're not in the space. How do you tell the story of hemp to a customer who may not be as invested as you are?
Yeah, great question because it's a great challenge. And there's two layers to that. Yeah, how do we move away from the cultural stigma and deliver what we're trying to do, which is premium skincare? But then also how do we educate in a way that feels every day? So we talk to our customer in a real way. We're not here to give you Science 101, although again, myself and the lovely product development team, shout out to Lara at Hey Bud, will definitely love diving into the science behind it. That's what we're here to do. And we're here to deliver kind of that top level. This is what you need to know about hemp for our customers. So there's a couple of really key benefits to hemp in skincare. Number one is anti-inflammatory. So actually supporting inflamed, angry skin. So think acne-based skin. There's a lot of anger in that nice redness that you're going to have, whether it's during breakout or post-breakout as well too. Hemp also has a really fantastic balance of omegas 3, 6, and 9. So again, that repairing, that healing and protecting. And also as well, it's a natural humectant, which means, again, 101, you're going to get a lot of moisture kind of protection from hemp. So where people with acne sometimes are a little bit scared of, putting moisture back into their skin, they kind of associate it with oil. One of the really key factors of healthier skin, if you do have acne, you need to heal and repair your skin. You actually do need a little bit of the right kind of moisture that's really light, I would say, to actually get in there and help repair and kind of do that long-term healing that the skin actually needs underneath.
Do your customers actually care around the explanation that you've given there, or do they, as you referred to earlier, more care about the results on real customers? You talked a lot about before and after, and you can see that all through your sites, all through your social. There's a real element of UGC and before and after photos. Is that more powerful than trying to explain the concept behind hemp?
If I can split that answer into new and returning customers, that is the easiest way to go here is, at the end of the day, again, skincare, what do people want? They want it to perform. So from a new customer, what do they want from new brands they're being introduced to? They've just been served a paid ad. Maybe they're getting a bit of SEO, seeing something on social that's blowing up. They just want to know that the skincare that they're using is working, that they want to use rather, is going to work. And that comes a lot from social proof, of course, as you've mentioned there, those customer reviews, that kind of UGC-based content as well too. So that is that new customer pool, is they want to feel like they are not being recommended a product by a brand. So it's not us saying, hey, come to Hey Bud, we've got what you need, it's going to work, it's going to change your life. What we actually do is really nurture that community to support the message for us. So again, where these new customers come to us, it's not us standing here saying, hey, we've got it. It's actually other customers recommending it to them. So in that space, at the end of the day, what's important, it's about that performance message coming from a different customer. So that's social proof there. On the returning customer side of things, how do we keep them engaged? And how do we teach them about, okay, cool, they've now used our product. Of course, they love it. And how do we actually keep them in the Hey Bud loop? How do we introduce them to new steps in their routine, making sure that they're getting what they need as well for their skin type? And a big part of that is education. So again, this is an education at science-based level that we do in the office to make sure that the customers don't. But it's actually about those little snippets of education. Hey, this is why your product's working. Hemp seed oil does this. Oh, okay, you're seeing those results. Fantastic. So again, kind of providing that confirmation bias where they've bought a product, other people love it. That's why they kind of converted in the first moment. Yet when you actually bring them into the fold, we're finding that, they actually really appreciate a little bit of education to really understand why what they have in front of them is going to be a little bit better than maybe something else they've had previously, or, sitting on the shelf or in the search terms on Google as well.
It's a good point, isn't it? Because if you are expecting your customers to go out there and shout about your brand or advocate for your brand in conversations, it's nice to give them that little bit of extra information so that they can answer the but why questions. Like if it comes back at them, because no one wants to be left going, oh, this stuff's really great, it works, and then have their friend or, their partner go, but why does it work? And they go, oh, I don't know. So arming them with that information is really useful.
And even bigger than that, when the next new shiny skincare brand pops up and has a bigger marketing budget than we do to tell them about why their brand's better, it's really important to make sure that your customers feel like they have the education as well too, that they're the ones informed. You don't want them going out there, as you said, kind of feeling like they're recommending something just because it is in a pretty packaging, which to be fair is a really key part of our strategy. But actually more than that, we want them to feel like they understand the brand, they're connected to the brand. And it's really interesting that I know a lot of brands out there that education space is kind of secondary, third, past all the other information that they feel like converts stronger. But it's actually really important in long-term loyalty as well. Again, that connection piece with community is really what you have to nurture. I mean, that hurts. That's a long-term play. You don't really see instant results from it, but it's about kind of working into the messages along the way. And again, making sure the customer journey, you're kind of hitting them at the right times of what they want to hear from you as well.
Love it. All right, we are going to dive down the loyalty and the ambassador side later, but I want to start with acquisition. Can we start talking about the channels that you're distributing through? So I understand it started as D2C, but I know now that you've got some retail partners on board as well. What are the distribution channels that Hey Bud rely on?
Yeah, so absolutely. For the first 2.5 years of Hey Bud, we were D2C only. And I think the incredible story about that when you reflect on other brands in our market that we play in is we had 2.5 years of learning about our customers before we even tried to tackle the retail market in Australia. So we are now, when we look at Australia, we are now in Priceline. And watch this space. Let's just say that as the next stage. And we also have retail partners in New Zealand as well too that we launched in the last kind of 6 to 12 months that, again, performing very strongly. Now, the reason we were able to make really kind of insightful decisions in that retail space when we got to it, rather than just kind of throwing something at the likes of Priceline buyer and going, buy this product. No one's ever tried it before, but we think it's going to be great. We were able to walk in there and say, this is our customer. This is where they're shopping in Australia, and this is the next stage of growth for us. And it's a very informed decision. And I think when you think about the buyers, again, think about how saturated this indie beauty space is, how many brands are becoming to them weekly saying, hey, put us on the shelf, and not really understanding what that entails. I think the reason we've been so successful in the retail space, specifically in Australia, that's been running a little bit longer now, is because we're able to actually make really informed decisions based on the fact that we have the D2C space. So we have this first-hand customer data that we're able to go, what do they like? How do they operate? What are they clicking on? What are they not listening to? Where are the challenges that we need to answer before we actually get to the next stage, whether it's product, brand, routine, all of the above. It's a bit of a treasure trove in terms of understanding more about our customers, and actually really fuels the way that we're able to grow faster as well too as a business, is because we know what they want from us through that D2C space, but are able to actually execute it across all channels that we operate under.
And did you notice when you launched into retail for the first time, the impact immediately on the digital or the D2C channel?
You are naturally going to see a little bit of a bump when you start shifting your messages away from, hey, buy it online, to, hey, you're actually now available to walk down to your local price line, pop in at lunchtime and grab it. But I think what's been really interesting from our side of things is the retail kind of expansion that HeyBud is under at the moment. It's about accessibility for our customers. So if we flick back to our customer journey now, what do we want our customers to actually, how can they access HeyBud? We like to think of it, of course, we want them shopping on the D2C. We'd love them to be subscribing as well too. Skincare is a beautiful space of subscription, of course. Using it every day, it's running out within a month, 2 months, depending on the product. However, maybe they have a friend stay over and they use too much of their cleanser. Now their, subscription's out of whack. We want them to be able to walk down into their local price line on their lunch break from work, pick up the cleanser, probably pick up another product from HeyBud as well too while they're there, and actually get what they need in all points of that customer journey as well too, again, with accessibility.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Interesting thing about HeyBud, and you alluded to it earlier, is that your branding, and that comes through on your packaging, is relatively simple. It's beautiful, but it's simple, right? It seems to be one color, one typeface. It's that very minimalist style. When we were chatting to the team at NatPat, who do the stickers for mosquitoes and anxiety and everything like that, as they expanded into the US, into Target and the rest, they had to actually redesign a lot of their packaging because the story that they were telling online was enough that their packaging didn't have to do a lot of heavy lifting in store. But when it was in store, seen by itself, they had to actually change a lot of the messaging on the packaging without that digital context behind it. Have you had to do anything to the packaging to make it really stand out and also be self-explanatory in a retail-only environment?
There's probably two parts to that. And I think if we start with the classic kind of HeyBud range, so think about your classic skincare that we've had for a little while. Again, the best-selling clay mask, our cleanser, our moisturizer, if we kind of zone down on those three. What you will see in store is a beautiful, clean, absolute frontage, as you've mentioned there. And we have a really strong reason behind that in the market that we play in. It's all about that human psychology. And for those of you who don't love this side of things, tune away now. But when we look at the market for skincare, when we look at the premium brands that are really kind of out there pushing that premium message, their packaging is minimalistic, it's simple, it's one color, it's not glaringly kind of outlandish in terms of the saturation of the color as well too. There's a lot of science behind the way that it's presented. And of course, when we look at what HeyBud is in the market, we're that accessible kind of premium style product. So we wanted to make sure that we were still delivering that on shelf, still giving people that experience as well too, especially in the likes of Priceline that really offer that kind of masstige space. So not your supermarket solutions, not your kind of Mecca Sephora solutions, but somewhere in between. We wanted to make sure that we had that presence. And so education is important, yes. But as part of that, we have point of sale. So we've got all of the lovely in-store terms for POS that some of the e-com listeners may not be across yet around wobblers and gondolas and end caps and things like that. That's where we educate.
Whenever it's said in a serious retail meeting, whenever the word wobblers is said, it's a highlight of a meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the fact it's so descriptive of what that thing actually is as well, too. But yeah, that's where we educate. That's where we do, let's call it the sell, the hook, I guess, if we're in that e-com space. But actually, we're still presenting a product that's nice and strong. Of course, everything we do in store is backed up through socials, through our EDM, through our website. That's where we kind of educate further. But interestingly, part two, and this is where the brand has definitely evolved and built and is finding strength after strength, is we do now have what I would call kind of retail offline optimized style products. Now, these products are the products that probably the e-com world don't love as much. They're lower price point. So again, you're not really driving up AOVs online. They may be heavier as well too, which of course shipping challenges we don't love online. But in store on a shelf, something a bit bigger is probably going to be heavier. Looks great on a shelf. So that's where we actually start playing into thinking, hey, if this product is truly optimized for offline, how do we actually, again, support that kind of education on shelf? You'll see it across pimple patches, which are just, the offline market is incredible for that growth of us for a product. And also our lip balms as well too, that we have been talking a lot about lately. But yeah, really excited to kind of see them in the retail space soon again. They're a little bit busier on the packaging at the front, but you're still getting that kind of minimalistic kind of edge to it that HeyBud really has as its core branding.
I think that's really interesting because a lot of the time as brands think about the split between D2C and retail offerings from a product perspective, there's that thought of, okay, we'll offer everything, the extended range online, and we'll give retail the core offering so that we can still, we can acquire customers through retail, but if they want all the different variants, all the different styles, they have to shop with us D2C. But I love what you're saying there around, actually, there are some things that just work well in retail only. And I could imagine that makes your retail partners very happy to have exclusive access to that.
We hope so, yeah. And it's really funny what you've said there. Yeah, that is a really classic, probably e-com first thinking of let's put some stuff online to drive people to D2C. And, the retail offering can just be about accessibility. So get our top selling out there, make sure, again, it's accessible, pick up on the lunch break kind of thinking. We at Hobart have actually switched that on its head, and for good reason and for good results as well too. We have something which is our mini clear skin starter kit. So when you look at our D2C, we have packs, so pre-bundled kind of routines, let's call them, again, works perfectly in the skincare space. Our highest selling one is the clear skin starter kit. So 4 steps, really simple. Again, education level is kind of lower from a skincare perspective, so anyone can purchase this, step into it, start using Hey Bud, and of course fall in love with it. What we actually did with the retail space, so in that offline channel, is create a mini clear skin starter kit. Now, what that does is give the customer that experience in the offline channel. So actually on the shelf, they're able to go, hey, here's the routine to start me off with Hey Bud. Of course, as a little bundle, it looks really great on shelf as well too. But that mini kit, the one online is full size, the one in offline is mini. That is an exclusive for our offline channel. And it actually gives us the ability to create a conversation from both sides. D2C, you can get everything you want except for that one, but it's about building your own routine, of course, getting discounts through Build a Bundle and things like that. There's always freebies. We do a whole lot of GWPs and kind of merch at Hey Bud. That's all available online. However, we do need some driving factor for the offline space as well too, and that's where you get really strategic and kind of build that into the architecture of what we do. If it works online, let's deliver it in store, but a really different way to make sure that there's 2 conversations going on and 2 kind of triggers to purchase in different spaces.
I love it. And do you have any way to measure cross-purchase of in-store and online? So maybe a customer who discovers the mini pack in store and then coming back online to buy the larger version of it?
And you know what? This is, as an e-com first person as well too, as part of this, it is challenging because what do we have access to online? Anything and every piece of data that we have time to find. So how did this person get to us the first time? How did they come back the second time? What are they buying? What are they not? What dropped off? Et cetera, et cetera. And you can dive down, and honestly, like sometimes even getting at a customer level when those really high purchases, like diving in and understanding how they operate is so fascinating. Flick to the retailer side of things, and the availability of data is really challenging. So it's a really traditional market, that retail offline space. Again, your big players in Australia, obviously looking at the likes of Priceline, Chemist Warehouse, and then of course the more premium, and we're going Mecca and Sephora. Now, they have access to incredible amounts of data. You look at the loyalty programs they've run for years and years since they started, and they have it all in the back end. Of course, not as readily available from a brand side of things.
Do they give you access to any of that?
There are ways to purchase into data for different retailers, but purchase is the key word there. And I think where we find our data for that offline space is more about looking at total market data. So, of course, we understand sales of products that are doing well. Of course, as part of that, ours as well, what's performing, what's not. The offline space as well, too, where, online we speak about this kind of one whole catalogue. When we go into the offline space, we're talking about different bays. So in skincare, there's the mass bay, there's the natural bay, there's the acne bay. It's actually broken down to that level. So where the customer journey online is so easy to track, in the retailer space, you have to get really savvy about how you're finding your insights, how you're making your decisions as part of that, and also how you're looking forward. So, forecasting on the data that you're seeing, those little tweaks and changes in the offline market, they're harder to spot. But definitely as a business, if that's where your focus is, you want to grow, build, maybe launch new products, that's where your real focus needs to be, is what does the market actually want next? And understanding that from both the D2C side of things, again, which is a little bit easier, even bringing in the kind of more market insights from online, but actually getting really smart about how you're looking at that offline space and the data that is available to you.
Yep. Oh, I love it. There's so much. I've got so many more questions there, but I want to bring us to your web asset because I think it's really interesting. If anyone goes to the HeyBud website, heybudskincare.com, have a look at it because you're on Shopify?
We are, yes.
But it doesn't look like a off-the-shelf Shopify store by any means. Really unique homepage and product pages specifically. The homepage, I want to start there because it is very visual. It's almost like you've got a full page takeover as the starting point of the homepage rather than the traditional banner, carousel, proof point. It's very large image in your face. How did you land upon that as one of your most central pieces of real estate? How did you land upon that design, which kind of breaks the mold from a lot of other e-commerce sites?
Yeah, for sure. And I think this is one, the homepage I can't take much credit for because, again, stepping back into where HeyBud started, we ran D2C for about 2 years before we really kicked off anything. And what we had during that time was, of course, 3 incredibly passionate founders who know the D2C and kind of e-com space back to front. And so, of course, there was an incredible amount of kind of testing, going back and forth, doing all those A/Bs and things like that to find what worked for our customer. And I think when you look at our homepage at the moment, again, that above the fold, it's one image, especially when you jump on mobile with just hey, this is what we do and shop now. When you actually look at the images as part of that, it's exactly what we're telling our customers throughout the journey to get them there. So if we kind of pull out, let's say pull out the paid media channel, in our ads for paid, you're going to see a lot of customer reviews. You're going to see a lot of UGC. You're going to see a lot of people recommending HeyBud. Now, when they click through, great. They're kind of like, oh, that looks exciting. I'm going to see what this brand is all about. The first thing they land on is a page that says, hey, here's a whole lot of images of people. It's where you've just come from against what we're telling you we're delivering. We're telling you as well, too, about a couple of key concerns as part of that. So whether it's acne, whether it's, breakout prone skin, they're all kind of within that top of the fold messaging. And then, of course, as any good homepage has, there's a big fat CTA sitting there as well, too, to make sure that they actually get to the collections page. But innately, it is actually kind of balanced back into who we are as a brand. But bigger than that, it's actually the customer journey. What did we tell them we were going to deliver them? They land on the website, and that is the first thing that we absolutely serve them.
That's cool. So it's been there for a while. Are you still doing regular A/B testing, heat map testing, UX testing on those key assets?
Yeah, and do you know what's interesting is, of course, every time we launch NPD, we're running a whole lot of, all of our channels are firing for that NPD. So, of course, that banner will change. But interestingly, kind of chatting about it today, because like any good brand, we are looking at a homepage refresh at the moment. So love that you've picked up on that. But again, the core principles behind what we're talking about of why we've had that and why it's performed for so long is exactly what we're kind of bringing into that new homepage refresh is delivering people what we say we're going to deliver them. And I know that doesn't sound particularly profound, but it's so interesting to look at so many people in the market who maybe they're more aesthetically kind of leaning, and yet their paid ads are kind of screaming about this customer and that customer. Then you get to their homepage and it's just a pretty picture of their product, which of course is probably a stunning marketing image that someone like me has gone, oh, I love that one. But it's actually not telling the story that you told them that they were going to get. And so as part of that, again, that switch off that happens beyond that is, it's kind of inevitable.
I think story is a really good word for it, and especially when you go to your product pages, because they are intense product pages. Like there is a lot on those product pages. And if you go in and have a look, obviously you've got the product images in there, but there's a lot of video, there's a lot of how-to, there's a lot of UGC. Are you ordering that in terms of priority? Because like you said, there is a kind of a formula that most e-commerce brands will use. Yours doesn't follow that necessarily. Are you doing that based on what you think the customer's user journey is rather than typical conversion kind of paths?
And I mean, when you break that down, it actually comes back to what we were talking about previously, where we spent 2 years intently focused on our customer behavior. What are they asking us? What are they not? Essentially, the questions that you get asked by your customers, whether it's customer service, social media outreach, they are the questions that you're not answering through whatever you're delivering them. So if people are constantly asking, how do I work this into my routine? It's skincare, or how do I use this? How do I layer this? You haven't answered that question for them enough that they've actually reached out. And if one person has reached out, there's probably 20 people thinking it. And there's also probably 100 underneath that they don't even know that's the question that's actually roadblocking them, but that's the reason they're not purchasing at the moment. So pulling it back to that, what we actually have done, and when you look at our pages, absolutely, there's a lot of information on there, but we do operate in the skincare space. On the flip side, if we were in another really trending, of course, e-com space, let's say activewear, there's a new collection every month. There's a new color every month. The product catalog is really big. So again, volume of SKUs is large. We have a core range. And again, we have a whole lot of NPD that launches at appropriate times. But in general, we stick to a certain number. That gives us a chance to truly optimize those pages, understand how people shop them, how far do they scroll down? Again, what customer contacts are we getting? Where are they asking the questions? Even today, as we speak on our Instagram story, there's a question up about what do you want to know about? Is it an ingredient? Is it about a skincare routine? We consistently ask people that in the channels that we have access to and feed that back into the way we actually build the pages. It's not that we never want anyone to contact us, of course, but as part of that, that is kind of your success marker, is not only are people converting, but are those questions that they used to consistently ask you, have you already answered them? And again, what's the next one that you can actually jump on and fix as well?
Yeah, I don't think customers will be unhappy with that. No one really wants to get on there and ask those questions of you. So if you're answering what's already out there, that's fantastic. I guess that's a bit of a luxury, isn't it? Like with the business model that you're in, that you have products that aren't seasonal, that aren't churning, that you can actually put effort into developing those product pages that will stick around over years.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, especially when we review a brand like Hey Bud, we do have a very distinct tone of voice. We're a little bit cheeky. We're still that premium element, but we get to, I use the word play a lot. We get to play and have a bit of fun. And actually, again, the copywriting, the kind of making sure that it flows in that balance of science and kind of tone of voice is really challenging. It's one of those things where you think, oh, cool, a couple of paragraphs of copy, I'll just knock it off in a minute, or, send it off to some chat GPT somewhere and it'll solve the problem. So it takes a bit of investment in terms of, hey, is this actually worthwhile for us from time and obviously sometimes cost as well with third parties, but it actually has a clear purpose behind it as well. So again, it's building the brand. Brand builds loyalty at the end of the day. It's not necessarily the product or the promo that builds the loyalty. It's actually that brand building. And so investing back in that, step by step, we are very lucky in a space where we get to create product pages that we get to optimize time and time again. However, I like to think we take full advantage of that as well and kind of support the customer journey with that, making sure they're getting what they need at every stage.
How was your last e-commerce delivery experience? Did your order arrive on time and undamaged? Or did it fail to fulfill expectations? If you are a high-value brand, just think about the low-value experiences in the last mile affecting your reputation. Delivered in full on time, or DIFOT if you're in a hurry, is a metric that matters for retailers and customers. Why? Because it shows whether deliveries are happening reliably and on time. Many Aussie retailers are settling for 70 to 80% DIFOT scores and dealing with a lot of unhappy customers. However, after partnering with Deliver in Person, experience-driven brands like Samsonite, The Party People and July see a consistent 99.6% DIFOT score. Don't settle for less. Make your last mile experience the first thing that customers remember. Learn more at deliverinperson.com. Have you been able to train up a GPT to get close to your tone of voice to be able to help you out?
Now, we are a startup at our heart and core of what we do. So we do love any sort of new technology. ChatGPT is absolutely on my bookmarks. You can get it pretty close, is what I'm going to say. Absolutely, there's some incredible prompts that get saved and popped into a Notion board somewhere and kind of roll out every time we need it. It gets us 98% of the way, is what I'm going to say. But I think the great thing about what we do is we have the base of the copy already there. Again, it's probably more sciencey to begin with, and then we actually play with tone of voice and build it into something that our customers kind of respond to as the voice that they know from Hey Bud.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You've got to get the tone right before you can train a GPT up. One of the quotes that I came across from you before interviewing was, "Big budgets make people lazy." I love that. And you did reference there that you still see yourselves as a startup. And I can see from the activity that you've done, you do a lot of non-traditional marketing and a lot of experimental stuff to try and stretch those budgets and to make noise and to get attention that the L'Oreals of the world might not be able to do or be willing to do. Tell us about some of your favorite activations that you've done recently.
And do you know what? Genuinely love that quote. I think when you come into a space where the budgets are smaller, you are watching every dollar, you're checking the performance, and you're truly understanding more about maybe what you want rather than, even just in any big brand operating. Quite often, performance is really measured by a PowerPoint that gets delivered at the end of the quarter versus what we're doing here at HeyBud is we are just hyper-focused on growth. So making sure that every dollar spent actually has a purpose, has a reasoning, and hey, if it doesn't work, it's a learning and you just keep moving forward. So looking at that, I think some of my favorite HeyBud activations we've done are truly the ones that on formal budget sheets actually are zero cost. So I think a big one that will follow us around for quite a while is the Taylor Swift activation that we did earlier this year. So to give you a bit of behind the scenes behind that, we thought to ourselves, cool, Taylor Swift is coming to Australia. I have a feeling that's going to have an impact on the market. I think that was a pretty safe bet, that one.
And I can guarantee that conversation happened around most brand tables, but it's what you do with it, right? And what you execute on that's important.
And I think even bigger than that, that conversation happened for us, I'm going to say in July last year, before she actually came into the market. It was I think February, March. So we thought about it early. And the reason that we thought about it is when you have smaller budgets, one of the really fantastic strategies you can take is having a think about who is doing the hard work, doing the hard yards, and sometimes spending the money to actually bring your target market together at a location, in a space, in a community that you can actually then infiltrate and target. So that guerrilla style marketing at its core, where is everyone that you want to talk to going to be in the same place to make it efficient for you at the end of the day? So Taylor Swift, we, again, got onto it early. We decided, we had a few Swifties in the office as well too, which helps. But we decided to make HeyBud themed friendship bracelets as well too, obviously a really core part of what Taylor Swift community loves. So we weren't just coming in and handing out products that didn't really have a fit. It was just kind of, that was a sampling activation. Oh, cool, we'll do that. We actually worked to think about the community that we're going to enter, that we're going to tap into, and actually making sure that they're getting something from it as well too. And the results from that campaign were incredible. Not only that, did we do the Melbourne one? Our office is based in Cremorne in Melbourne, so very close to the MCG. It went so well the first week. We actually sent some of our team to Sydney the second week to continue it as well too. We had national media coverage here in Australia, but also globally as well too, which is incredible, kind of from a brand that, again, from a traditional budgeter sense, that was a zero cost activation. But the incredible part behind that is the pre-thought and the strategy. So these creative ideas, you need to create space in your business for people to think. And that isn't, hey, it's 10 past 5 and I need you to think of the best creative idea ever. Of course, that's not the right space for it. It's about actually getting really strategic, thinking long term, but then pulling back into the now and going, hang on, if that's happening in 6 months' time, is there something I could achieve now that would actually tenfold it in a really, again, cost-efficient way as part of that?
Yeah. I can imagine that you and the team aren't sitting around twiddling your thumbs going, we've got nothing on, we're a bit cruisy at the moment. How do you create space for you and your team to think creatively, to have those moments at the right times, to be able to pull off those low budget but big impact activations?
I think what's really important in marketing space is finding a team around you that loves the data, loves the insights, loves really important kind of insightful driven decisions. But on the flip side, those decisions and those kind of actions are actually made tenfold with creative ideas to bolster them. You know, creativity comes in all form. It can be about project management, solving problems in different ways before. I'm not talking creative as in getting on and doing a design on Photoshop kind of thing. And again, the challenge is where people's brain are kind of stuck in the BAU, the admin side of things, the day-to-day, that doesn't create a space where you're supporting that. And so again, a big thing for HeyBud, and personally, anyone who's worked either with me or reported into me knows, is I'm all about that efficiency piece. And essentially what we want to happen as a business and as a team and as a leader in the business as well, is I want the team around me to be able to achieve their BAU tasks. So let's say, we're pumping out campaign emails every week. That's a standard. We know that, we've done that for years. How do you get 10% faster on that? And then take that 10% and actually put it into the big thinking. One of the core HeyBud values we have is around blue sky thinking. So you're probably going to have 10 crazy, wacky, ridiculous ideas, and only one of them is probably going to be actually impactful enough to go, yeah, actually, this is something we can pull off and it's worthwhile. But you need to be able to think about those 10 to actually hit the one. And again, coming back to HeyBud's values, another one of our core values of what we do is about failing fast. So doesn't matter if you try something and it doesn't work out. If you, at the time of making that decision, truly believe that was the best choice, doesn't work out in the middle for whatever reason, learn the reason why that didn't work out and just keep going. It's one of those spaces where I have never felt so empowered to make decisions, and I've never felt so empowered to fail spectacularly, but just keep going. We learn really fast. And I think from the learnings that you have as well from those failures, that's where you're going to kind of pick up the fastest and actually get that true growth out of it.
You mentioned Notion before as a place that will store your GPT prompts that you've seen that'll work. Have you got processes or places where you store ideas that may have landed on the cutting room floor as a not for now, or lessons from past activations, so that you can continually document and go back to them?
Now, I'd love to say I've just harped on about organization and all that stuff. Now, I have a personal Notion board sitting somewhere in there that just has a whole lot of one-liners of me at 3 and rolling over and going, wow, have we ever thought about, and I had one from this week that's gone in there that I've already kind of sent off and got it started as an idea, but that's probably how my brain thinks. And the interesting thing is that's how I operate in that space, in that creativity, wow, pull something out of the air and then think about it. I want the team to actually figure out their own process for that creativity space. I think it isn't one size fits all in there. If I tell them, here's a prescriptive path to find the big ideas, the blue sky thinking, that's not going to work for everyone. And I think, again, in a space where you're in a smaller business and there's less people, you need to be able to give them space in that creativity kind of area, let's call it, to actually figure out what works for them. And as long as the end result, we end up in the same critical path, the same process, the same platform, whether it's Notion or, the likes of Mondays and Trellos and things like that, that's okay. But to actually get there, that's the hardest bit. You've got to give people the space to find what works for them there.
I love that advice. It actually echoes on from the conversation we had recently with Jesse Richardson, who, when I asked him the question around how do you get introverts to express their ideas and their ways of doing things, he's like, well, it's not around sitting around a table and then going, oh, you've been quiet. Can you give us your opinion? It's about creating the right spaces and the right environments that work for them, because what works for them will be very different from anyone else. So being able to create those right ways of thinking for individuals is really important to get the best creative outputs.
Yeah. And again, in that small business space where you have, under 20 people, under 30 people, the most important asset you can have sometimes is the team around you. And you hire people for particular reasons. There's something they see in them at the time when you go, right, that's what we need to bring into the business. And as part of that as well, too, as you said, give them the space and find the way that they tick, the way that they want to input as well too. And they might be that kind of person that, 9 a.m. the next day, you get this really lengthy email because their brain's been firing overnight. But in the meeting when there's kind of everyone sitting in there, everyone's drawing a blank, it's not just going to naturally spit out for them. So absolutely agree with that too.
Hannah, great chat. Thank you so much. You've shared so much around the HeyBud story, the product, especially that omni-channel split. I'm keen to know more. What's coming up over the next 12 months? You've hinted at more retail expansion. What else is on the radar? What do we expect to see from HeyBud?
Yeah, and do you know what? That leans back into the lovely word that we love, which is growth. But I always like to split this into kind of this month, this year, and then kind of beyond. But this month, I think we've got an exciting time. We've got 2 new team members starting this month for HeyBud. So really kind of bolstering out where the opportunities lie in future for us. We're hiring in the spaces as well too. So I think that's a really exciting change for us as a business. Again, chasing the opportunity. When I think about this year again too, you've kind of hit it there around there's incredible opportunities to grow and continue that accessibility of our products for the Australian market and New Zealand market and beyond, of course. And then I think long-term for HeyBud, who do we want to be in the beauty space? I think it's really kind of doubling down, and as we continue to grow, absolutely still fire off those channels that are going to drive that end of the day revenue and, of course, customer acquisition. However, as part of that, definitely do that with that dose of realness that HeyBud does. I like to think no one else on the market can do it.
I love it. Well, if you do all that, happy days.
Happy days.
Hannah, thank you so much for joining us on Add to Cart. If people want to know more about HeyBud or get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
probably start with a little stalk on LinkedIn. And if you're Melbourne based as well too, if you ever see me at any marketing events, please come up and say hello. But of course, everything and anything that we do online is normally captured by our socials, both front of house stuff, all the pretty pictures, but a lot of the behind the scenes. And of course, feel free to connect as well. And kind of, we've got a couple of team members starting in the next week or so, but of course the founding team as well too. Always happy for a chat.
Amazing. Hannah, thank you so much for joining us on Add to Cart.
Thanks, Nathan.
What an amazing story so far. I love the origin story there of the three 20-year-old gents starting this with inspiration from their mum. What an amazing story. And thank you to Hannah for giving listeners 20% off their first order of HeyBud products. If you're a new customer, use the code ATC_20, that's ATC_20 on your first order. Offer ends 31st of December. All right, there are many, many lessons out of that conversation with Hannah. Here are the three that I'm definitely going to be taking away with me. Number one, structured offline data. We talked a lot about the omni-channel presence that HeyBud have and how they are trying to understand their customer behavior. As Hannah mentioned, there is a multitude of data available offline. It may not connect perfectly with your online data, but it is out there. So be savvy with your data, particularly in the offline space. What do customers want next? Hannah let us in on a little secret around that you can purchase data from retailers like Chemist Warehouse. Make sure that if you do plan on using this offline data, make it part of your wholesale negotiations from the start. Number two, always evolve key info and FAQs. Obviously with HeyBud, it was a bit easier because they've got a limited range and products that never churn. But the questions that you get asked by customers directly through live chat, through phones, through email, are the ones that you're not answering for them on your website. It seems easy, but a lot of retailers don't do this. For every customer that asks a question, there are 20 that want to know the same thing and many that don't contact you and don't buy. Keep a record of all the questions that you're being asked and make sure you implement them both in your FAQs, product pages, and elsewhere on your site where your customers might be thinking the same thing. And number three, go with your community. You don't always have to lead a community. Sometimes it's just as powerful to jump on board where your community is and try and add value, even if it's totally outside your realm. Identify where someone else has done the hard work to bring your target audience together and then create an activation to reach them there. But as we heard from Hannah with the Taylor effect, it doesn't mean that you don't have to plan or be creative. Sometimes it can be even harder to amplify what is already a very exciting time and make your brand a part of it. Before you go, we'd love to invite you to join our free e-commerce learning platform, Add to Cart Campus. Meet other professionals and learn from e-commerce experts to take your business and your e-commerce career to the next level. Register to join Campus at addtocart.com.au/campus. Now, if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you share it with a friend or a colleague, or even better, leave us a review on Spotify or Apple. It really makes a difference.